That was the thing I would see in New Jersey sometimes when I was a kid, like sub 11 years old. When I was in New Jersey, I would see dads kissing on the lips, and then when I moved to Virginia, I didn't see that.
No,
I used to kiss my dad on the lips before bed up until I was like probably 8 or 9, maybe even older. I remember like saying goodnight to both my parents, go to kiss my mom, go around the bed, kiss my dad to his lips. And now that I think back on it, I can see the cringe and the weirdness in my dad's face that this was something that he was expected to do with me every night.
He didn't want to do it.
You guys know Tom. He's not a kiss on the lips.
No, he wouldn't have been into it. Yeah, he's like, all right, that's it.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
There was conversations every night. Like, when is this gonna stop?
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. That Tom.
How long we got to do this song a day?
Yeah,
was uncomfortable.
Jesus Christ, another fight. He's 9, Dottie.
You are.
There it is.
Hell yeah, boss.
Oh, hey.
Oh yeah. Let's spin the wheel, fellas, for who yells.
Okay.
Introduce this episode. Let's do it.
And this is just the natural progression of everything being tossed to a game of chance.
Yep. Now, so Mark signed this one up. I forget when it was. I think it was during voicemails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he said,
yeah,
he was like, nope, this is how it goes now. So now wheel starts every single.
Well, someone called for the good
Patreon.
morning to be the wheel spin, and Mark was like, no, but we can do that. We can do it on Patreon. Yeah.
I mean, it's stupid because Will does. He's effectively based
have
around
you heard
a skill set that Will has.
Have you
Yeah,
heard
but it's
Mark's
funny
yell?
to hear.
I've heard Mark's yell, and then I made
It's
like
good.
It's pretty good. I made a little joke about
Wes,
it,
this is
and he got upset for a second, and I was like,
I
"No,
gotta
but
hear you.
I'm just teasing you, Mark.
I got to hear Pat.
I can't do it.
I
I can't do it.
We got to hear
That's
your
the whole
rendition,
point of the
though.
wheel, though.
All right.
We got to hear your
hear.
rendition.
All
Though,
right.
so here, hopefully it lands on you.
All right.
We'll see. And the yell today is going to be, damn it, Wes.
All right, let's do it.
All right, there you go, Wes.
And welcome to another edition of the Hive Hour. Today we got Pat, we got Will, and I'm Wes. Thank you for joining us. And hello, gentlemen.
That was nice, Wes. It almost had like a Yosemite Sam type flair to it.
I almost passed out. Every time I do it, I almost pass out.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait till it lands on Pat. Pat, what's your, like, can you give people a little preview of what your yell might be like? Or
I've heard it before.
I'm okay. So it's tough for me to say because right now I got to TBH coming off the illness.
right. So your voice isn't feeling the hottest already.
And then previous times I've attempted it, there's been a baby in the house.
oh, right. Well,
So I don't know. I don't even know
one
what
of
it'd be
these
like.
days it's going to hit you in the perfect moment to be super loud.
And that's why I'm just gonna say I'm not even gonna practice it. I'm gonna do it on the night, as they say.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be the best. It's going to be the best. I think everybody's got a great yell, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just there's just different flavors.
I mean, yeah, we do it because this is a skill that you have. Like if a part of the show was being over 6 feet tall, like I would do that. You know what I mean? And like if a part of the show is like having a deep guttural yell, you would do that, and that's why we do that. When we're talking about the show in its earliest days, and we were like, okay, what can we bring to the show? I don't think you even said this, but you just did because you knew you had this skill.
It was organic,
that would give us a unique opening.
Yeah, and bring the energy. Yeah,
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I've had no issue with that. I don't sit and get jealous or weird or curious about what the other guys would. I just want to hear you do it.
Oh, well, that's nice, but I want to hear you do it.
I know that. I know.
Me too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
one day we'll get to hear.
All
it.
right. Sure.
But today, what are we talking, fellas? We're doing deep dives on the Hive Hour.
Mhm.
What are we talking on this one?
We're talking about Hunter Biden. We're talking about Hunter Biden, guys. We're talking about Hunter Biden, the second-born child of Joseph Robinette Biden.
We pulling up these pictures on purpose?
No, shit, my bad. I was trying to rename them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
In his own little world over there.
We are talking about Robert Hunter Biden, yes.
Mm-hmm.
What's his first name? Robert?
Robert. Yep.
You know what's really funny about this? Wes sent over a video, and this is an aside before we get going. Hunter, Joe called him honey, apparently. He
Mhm.
said in that video.
It's
Because
a good nickname.
honey for a boy,
I don't mind. I call my son Bubba.
yeah, that's way more manly. That's like,
I
yeah,
can call him
Bubba
Bubby.
makes
I call him
sense.
Bubby.
Bubby also makes sense.
Yeah.
Honey, typically only used for female like love interest.
Why you gotta project gender shit on honey?
Well,
Pie?
what I'm saying is, it just Mike. I mean, he grew up to be a kind of a weird guy. It's like
It was
the
all
honey
it
thing
was
is
the honey.
it's a weird start. It's a weird start.
He had a tough hand though.
Your dad calls you honey all the time. You're like, oh,
The guy didn't have the best hand.
Yeah. It's like my son's mom
He's the first
calls,
son.
still calls him baby. And I hate that because I feel like it's like just prolonging.
That's a
his,
mom
like,
still.
I know, but it's just, the name can affect you.
dad to son, yeah, dad to son, honey. That'll cross some wires.
Yeah. Yeah. I stopped calling Cam Cupcake years ago.
You used to call him Cupcake.
Exactly. Yeah, well, when he's a baby, when he's a fucking baby.
I never called him Cupcake.
Look, Hunter's in that video. He was
Hunter's
like
not the
51.
first son. Hunter's
He
the
was
second
like
son.
51.
Yes.
Well, the first son is R.I.P. But
Mhm.
Hunter's like 51 in that video, and he says that Joe comes into his apartment. And he goes, "Honey, what's wrong?"
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you got it's not
Honey.
honey how you know it. His name's Hunter, and he's
I get it. It's
and
short
he's-
for Hunter, but it's still
Maybe it might just be honey.
Ooh.
Tom
Man,
Brady
that's
kisses
weird.
his son on the lips.
Well, that's weird.
That's also weird. Two weird things. I'm not trying to say
That's way weirder.
it's all weird.
I don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah,
That was a thing I would see in New Jersey sometimes when I was a kid, like sub 11 years old. When I was in New Jersey, I would see dads kissing on the lips, and then when I moved to Virginia, I didn't see that.
I used to kiss my dad on the lips before bed up until I was like probably 8 or 9, maybe even older. I remember like saying goodnight to both my parents, go to kiss my mom, go around the bed, kiss
It's
my dad
normal and
to his
stuff.
lips. And now that I think back on it, I can see the cringe and the weirdness in my dad's face that this was something that he was expected to do with me every night.
He didn't want to
Because
do it.
you guys know Tom. He's not a kiss on the lips.
No, he
kinda
wouldn't
guy.
have been into it. Yeah, he's like, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
There was
I don't,
conversations every night. Like, when is this gonna stop?
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Tom
How long we got to do this song a day?
Yeah.
was
Jesus
uncomfortable.
Christ, another fight. He's 9, Dottie.
I don't buy that.
Oh, I do. Are you kidding me?
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's
I
funny.
mean, your dad is a pretty straight man, but I
Yeah.
I don't buy that. When you're a kid,
Overly kissy dads is funny.
I'm
That's
not
a
talking
funny
3.
yeah.
I'm talking
You're
9,
implying
10.
you're implying that your mom put him up to it,
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of course, dude.
not Wessie. Wessie didn't want it.
No, I mean, I'm sure I was like happy to
No,
do it.
Pat,
but-
Wessie
you know
didn't
how
say
this-
daddy.
Pat,
no, I'm sure I did.
Pat, you're a dad. You know how this goes. You have to do things that you don't want to do just because the kid doesn't cry if you do them.
Yeah,
That's
which is
how-
everything.
Right, a lot of
Literally
things. in
Put
life.
all of them.
Most things.
Yeah, pretty
you
much
do
everything.
just because you're avoiding the kid crying. Yeah.
He just wants to cry so bad, man.
Yeah. Well, that's just how parenthood goes. So
So I got hit with that thing, man. I got hit with that thing bad over the weekend, and I forgot how suicidal you become when you're in that
if you
That,
get really sick,
yeah, when you're just in that throw up cycle, the one that won't stop.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's not
the
a
one
good feeling.
the one where you throw up and then pass out, and then you only wake up again when your body's like, gotta go again.
And your stomach is just in clenches and
Yeah,
like,
and you're
The
thinking
worst
about-
for me is the cramps. If I get
Yeah.
a fever, I get bad cramps. I'll be
Ugh.
cramping all day. It's
thinking
just
about where the gun is. You know you're just visualizing where the gun
Ugh.
is.
a terrible feeling. Yeah. Terrible. I'm glad that you're feeling better
I'm
now.
glad you made it
Feeling
through.
better. Horrible. Can we get over that? I mean, like I feel like this is a new. It wasn't the flu either. It was like a 24-hour.
It's not COVID.
It's not COVID.
Yeah. So it's
Well, I'm saying there's like residual sicknesses coming off this COVID bullshit, bro.
Yeah, it's
well,
just
no, it's
normal
just back
bug.
to normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like people forgot that there was sickness before COVID because nobody got sick those 2 years when everybody stayed home.
Right.
Literally nobody got sick. And so everybody forgot what it was like to have like a cold.
Bug. Yeah.
Right.
Every year there's one of these awful, like puts you down for 24 hours, just worst illness of your life.
This
bugs
year,
and-
it seems to have gotten everybody.
Yeah.
The entire daycare was saying all the kids had diarrhea for the entire week last week. Insane.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
For the daycare workers.
Oh, horrible.
Horrible.
Rubber gloves all day.
Horrible. Why isn't there a National Daycare Worker Day? I haven't seen that in our days yet, in our holidays yet. There needs to be. There needs to be a National Daycare Worker Day because those people are fucking saints.
They are saints.
Child care, man. Child care.
Some of them are just
Right. What if they're
abusive
abusing
pieces of
kids?
shit.
That's terrible. I
Oh,
want
it
to
is.
think about that right now. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Hunter Biden. Come on. We got,
Okay,
we got
let's go.
multiple kids in daycare right now. Let's not.
okay. Well, you got cameras on them, right? There's no blackout spots on those cameras, right?
We have cameras,
totally.
but you can't
No
view
corners.
It's
To-
it's only
totally,
for
Wes, yeah.
review. It's only for review. It's not
Completely
live
covered.
feed.
Oh, really? I could live view mine if I wanted to. back in the day.
I kind of understand
That was
why.
years ago.
I kind of understand why they don't do the live feed. To be honest with you, I kind of understand why they don't do it.
'Cause it's chaos.
No, because the place that I have cash in is really, it has their shit together. It is a tightly organized, nice joint, and they have cameras out the ass. But I guess a lot of parents are like, "Yo, can I get a live feed?" And I imagine that if you're a daycare worker, you want the camera to like A, accountability for your staff, and B, if there's an incident to have a record of it. But if you have parents live watching their kid, there's gonna be a fucking phone call every 12 minutes from a parent, be like, "Excuse
yeah.
me, yeah." It would just
This person's on their phone.
It would just interrupt
They
your ability
looked at
to do
their
your
phone
job.
5 times when my child was in the room, and I'm not okay with that. Do I pay them? Do I?
So
pay
I
you?
kind of get that. But
Yeah,
anyway.
but you get really tired. I tuned in a couple times to just watch.
You're the dad.
You get sick. Yeah, I am the dad. You get. Yeah, I'm the
The
dad.
moms
You,
would
you get
watch
you
Enough
get sick
said.
of it.
Enough said. You're
Yeah,
the dad.
Yeah, fair enough.
The moms would watch obsessive. It's almost spring and summer. The seasons for finally getting outdoors, for entertaining, pool parties, barbecues. But if your yard looks like a plant cemetery, you're not going to enjoy it as much. Get your place looking like a resort. Easy with fastgrowingtrees.com. When it comes to caring for your plants, know-how matters. That's why fastgrowingtrees.com Express curates thousands of plant varieties that will thrive in your specific climate, location, and needs. There's no waiting in lines, no messy cars from hauling plants all over town, because you order online or over the phone, and your plants are shipped to your door in 1 to 2 days. Plus, their growing and care advice is available 24/7. It is really like a mind-blowing delivery process. You will be so impressed, I guarantee. Whether you're looking for increased privacy, shade, and adding some natural beauty to your yard, Fast Growing Trees have the perfect plants and the expertise to help you find them. Even if you've never had a green thumb, they'll make you feel like you do. 1 million home gardeners have already seen what fastgrowingtrees.com can do for them. I personally have seen the delivery process, and like I'm telling you, it's amazing. Like they keep everything so fresh. Like the leaves are like vibrant on the tree somehow, even though it's boxed up. It's only in the box for a little bit. The root ball is like so moist, ready to plant. It's very healthy, ready to go. Very incredible. It's hard to believe, honestly, the packaging and the delivery system. Plus, with their 30-day Alive and Thrive guarantee, you can trust everything will be healthy for years to come. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com/factor right now, and you'll get 15% off your entire order, which is a huge savings. We're talking about big, beautiful outdoor trees, 15% off. Get 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com/factor, fastgrowingtrees.com/factor.
Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden, Robert Hunter Biden. I like him more already, knowing he's a middle name guy like myself. You know,
Nice.
That's nice. So he was born February 4th, 19. I went to reach for my hat and it's not there. 1970 in Wilmington, Delaware. So, you know, not a great start. But he is the second son of Joe and his wife, Nelia, I believe is how you say her name. He had 3 siblings, his older brother, Bo, whom he would later betray in one of the worst ways possible.
I think you're wrong about that.
Oh, what?
What?
I think he honored Bo, if you ask me.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
no, you don't.
That's some kind of honoring.
A little foreshadowing.
There they are with dad. You know, back in the day. Looks like they have like Great Dane or like a Rhodesian back there. I'm not sure what kind
So
of dog that is.
It's
what's
not a Great
interesting-
Dane.
So what's interesting about Hunter then, given the timeline there, Wes,
Mhm.
Hunter has never known a world where his father is not at least a U.S. senator
Yeah, so
or
he-
higher. Yeah,
right. His dad became a senator just before his 3rd birthday.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Joe Biden also, I don't think we've talked about this enough. He is one of these defies baldness guys, right? He's one of these guys
Well, he's
that
been bald for 50 years.
right, but currently has a great head of hair.
Well, it's hair plugs. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
He has
No.
He's had a lot of work done.
We all know that, but what I'm saying is, I think I've talked about this once before. When in DC on 106.7, the talk radio station, the sports station, on Sunday nights, there was literally a show growing up called The Bald Truth, just from a bald guy telling other bald guys not to fuck with shitty hair treatments because that's how bad hair treatments were forever for bald guys. But then you have guys like Joe Biden who are getting the good. Elon Musk getting the good.
Elon's, yeah.
We all know it's hair plugs, but whatever it is, they need to come out and say what it is so that.
Well, they just get the highest end hair plug.
Okay, I know. That's what I'm saying. They need
What's
to come out.
interesting about this, Hunter Biden, a 52-year-old man, has never known a world in which his father wasn't one of the most powerful humans in it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's the senator's son.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quintessential.
Literally what CCR writes about.
And what you said, off to a tough start, Wilmington, Delaware. There's a different spin there, Wes, which is being born into anywhere in Delaware where your father's a senator. It's a small town vibe. That's what it is. So he's being born into a small town vibe. Delaware is like an island.
Prince
on the
of
East
Delaware.
Coast.
I meant Delaware being the rough start. Yeah.
I know what you mean. But what I'm
Right.
saying is,
I mean, Delaware is an armpit.
Right. I see it
joke.
adds to it because it's small.
It's
yeah.
it's a joke of the Mid-Atlantic if you grew up around it because it's a tiny nothing state. But
Right.
yes, he was born like the Prince of Delaware.
oh yeah, everyone knows you in Delaware. If you're
All they
from
got
there.
is Dewey Beach. They got nothing else. What are they?
That is a great state to be a senator in because everyone knows you. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I bet it's fun to be there. It's like mini Maryland.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's smaller Maryland, which is so ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's a great state to be a senator of for sure.
Maryland Junior.
It's like Maryland's little brother.
I don't even know where it starts and ends.
Rehoboth,
It's like a
Dewey.
tiny corner of Maryland.
I
That's
know,
what
but
it is.
You're like, am I still in Delaware? I don't
I mean,
know.
they have ocean-front property, man. You know?
They got nice stuff there.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
have a bay and
it's
everything.
just always been a joke around
It
where
is.
we lived at Delaware.
Because you're in it for 7 minutes. Because as a kid, when you're traveling, you're always asking your parent, like, "Are we in a new state yet?" And then they're like, "Yep, we're in Delaware, and we're out of Delaware."
Yeah, it's the bridge, right? It's the Delaware
Dewey
Bridge.
Beach is
Yes.
the only thing I know
Rehoboth?
at all about Delaware.
Yeah.
But I've never been to Rehoboth. Dewey's the only beach I've ever spent any time at.
Dover. Anyway,
Dewey.
Yeah.
So that's it.
The slots. Anyway, so let's just get into it. So he was born February 4th, and then December 18th, 1972, at a very critical age as far as development goes. When his this is when his mom and sister were were killed in the horrific car crash, and his brother Bo and he were also in the car and suffered serious injuries. They had to spend several months in the hospital. Hunter specifically suffered fractures to his skull. So, not sure where that plays into later on in life, but it's something that needs to be noted.
That's tough. 2 years old.
not good.
Yeah. Right before 3, right before, a couple months before he turned 3. So what does that mean from a psychological standpoint for Hunter, other than the obvious reason it was traumatic? He lost his mom, his sister, was in the hospital for months. But having that happen before he turned 3 years old, from what I've read, this age trauma, this can and most likely will really fuck you up. You might,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You might
have
not-
a buddy who had a head injury at 14.
Mhm.
And he cites that as his inciting incident to getting into drugs.
Yeah, it's what a lot of people cite as the first, like, oh, you're into drugs? Were you abused as a child, or was there anything really traumatic that happened to you as a child? Those are like the two, biggies. And of course, abuse is trauma. But so Hunter actually claims that, a lot of kids don't remember this; they block it out. But Hunter, in his book, he claims that he actually remembers this accident. From the book, he says that his mom took Hunter, who was 3, his brother Bo, almost 4, and their 13-month-old sister Naomi, who was known as Caspi, short for Casper the Friendly Ghost. They were going to pick out a Christmas tree near their home in Wilmington. And Hunter describes how his mom, or how Naomi was sound asleep in the front passenger seat, tucked into the bassinet. And an eyebrow-raising detail by today's standards, as the article said, suddenly I see my mother's head turn to the right. I don't remember anything else about her profile, the look in her eye, the expression of her mouth. Her head simply swings. And at a 4-way intersection, the car was broadsided by a tractor trailer carrying fucking corn cobs. And the next thing that Hunter remembers is waking up in the hospital next to Bo, And says he's mouthing these words to me over and over. I love you. I love you. I love you. And that's where the true connection between he and Bo says really started.
He remembered all that and could talk it too.
Well, maybe
yeah,
whether he
almost
did or he
yeah.
didn't. I mean, imagine this is such a harrowing and traumatic experience in your life, right? Like people are talking about this shit all the time. Whether he remembered it or stitched it together because it's ever present, you know.
Right. So, at that age, it's a lot harder to recognize trauma in kids. A lot of times they'll just be quiet. They're not able to express themselves. They're not able to say, hey, Dad, that car accident where, Mom and Naomi died, that was really tough. They just they can kind of be reclusive, go into a shell. New York Times, Hunter actually, says that he's not blaming this car accident for a lot of the things that he's done in his life, the abuse, the piece of shit that he has become or was. He says, I want to make it clear, I don't see that tragic moment as necessarily resulting in behaviors that lent themselves to addiction. That would be a cop-out. But he does describe a long-running feeling of being uneasy in social situations. Quote, that kind of insecurity is almost universal among those with real addiction issues. Feeling of being alone in a crowd. I've always felt alone in a crowd. And whether
being high on crack in a crowd also tends to have that effect.
It does. And his feeling of loneliness, abandonment, losing his mother, all that plays in. I'm not a psychologist, but you can kind of easily connect the dots if you want to. And here's a clip from Joe Biden being sworn in January 1973. So literally a month after this horrific accident, he was sworn into the Senate. And he was sworn in next to the hospital bed of Bo and Hunter. Here's the clip.
Wow.
Time he was a toddler, Hunter Biden and his older brother Bo were fixtures in Joe Biden's public life. And when they were both hurt in the 1972 car crash that killed their mother and sister, their dad, a newly elected U.S. senator, took his oath of office in a hospital room.
If in 6 months or so there's a conflict between my being a good father and being a good senator, which I hope will not occur, we can always get another senator, but they can't get another father.
Oh, guess who worked on that campaign?
Who?
A married Jill Biden.
Ah.
Who Joe was dipping it into the company ink, and then they got married afterwards.
Well, it's good to be the king.
Good to be the king of Delaware, yeah.
It's good to be the king. I mean, it's an interesting point, though. Like, if you're Joe Biden, right, he's saying, hey, if I can't be a good senator and a good dad, I'm just going to be a good dad. The only way that...
Well, he knew that he had Jill watching the kids.
Well, the only way that was going to come true, where he could do both, is if he had another woman in the house. That's the only way.
He already had her. He already had her.
Yeah. It was a lot of optics.
She was already on the line.
Right.
She was on standby. He called her
Hold,
up from the bullpen.
Please.
Yeah. And you look at that clip and you say, oh, Joe, he was such a good dad. He was maybe willing to give up a family man, blah, blah, blah. But then you look at how he's basically just refusing to acknowledge one of his own grandchildren.
Oh, Wes, I'm glad you covered the good stuff first, because the back end of this is ugly.
Yeah. I'm trying to give Hunter a little bit of credit for his piece of shit ways, because I can only imagine what that would do to a kid losing in it being a horrific accident.
Horrible.
Like that. Be horrible. Yes. So like I said, there's not really much more in the early years of Hunter other than probably he was looked after by, nannies. Maybe Jill was there. Jill and Joe didn't get married till 4 years later in 1977. So, she was, maybe that was they wanted to delay the official,
Oh, wait. Well, maybe it was a re-election campaign. Maybe it wasn't his very first. I thought it was his first Senate campaign.
From what I feel, I don't know if he was dipping the ink in the other, the well there, because, it was.
Well, I just want to see what campaign they worked on.
Oh, okay.
75. So 2 years later. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, he didn't have her on the line yet.
Okay. So, for a couple years at least, Hunter and Bo were being looked after by, a lot of different people, probably a nanny full time. Joe's in the Senate. He's very busy. And he's got a lot of other, grandchildren. I just want to touch on this. Oh, wait, hang on one second. So this is important also from the mental health standpoint. This is from the Mental Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration about, how trauma can be a factor in behavioral issues and substance abuse. It's a major risk factor. Also PTSD, something we really associate with soldiers now that have seen, tragedies and horrific events in war. Anyone can experience PTSD, even children, from things such as car accidents. And guess what PTSD leads to? Substance abuse. So I'm not trying to like give Hunter a pass here. He's when he did a lot of this bullshit, he was very old, but the path that led him down to being such a crackhead was likely a lot of this trauma.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you follow Hunter, I mean, I don't know, even reading the scandal portion of his life, Hunter just seems like a drug addict who does whatever he's told.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll be honest with you, I don't think Hunter's not like the fucking mastermind of this plan.
No, but look, the point is, drugs will, if you're an addict of drugs, which he is an addict of drugs,
yeah,
all bets are off in terms of being a good person. That's just straight up it.
Well, right, he'll do whatever the fuck you ask him to do.
The drugs take over, and I guess what Wes is getting at, which I agree, is like if you look at a guy like this who seems pretty smart, and definitely has all the privilege that he could ask for, when he ends up being consistently a piece of shit, you look back and say that guy had a tough hand. A brain injury and losing your mom and your sister, that's tough.
And he walks out. You know what he is? You guys watch The Righteous Gemstones?
Yes,
he's Baby Billy. He's had so many toilet babies and walked out on so many mamas. He's just Baby Billy. That's Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is Baby Billy. He's an old dude that just could never get his shit together, and he keeps having toilet babies, and he
what's a toilet baby?
You watched The Righteous Gemstones.
I stopped watching. I watched like 4 episodes. It didn't hit me. It didn't connect with me.
Oh wow, great.
I'll give it another try. Everyone's saying it's great. I tried.
Baby Billy, Hunter Biden is Baby Billy. That's he's carried by the family. Like they have the same character. Anyways,
okay.
One more thing. I mean, so he, this is all stuff that happened to him, and he eventually, there's not much more about his youth, what he was into, like sports, what else. He attended a Catholic high school, same one his dad and brother did, the Archmere Academy in Claymont, Delaware. So,
let's pick it up there.
Cool.
So yeah, guys, the Archmere Academy in Claymont, Delaware, which, by the way, this thing looks pretty nice. And as we were saying, if you are a Delaware senator, you're the king of fucking Delaware. I mean, I think that's why I found it so hard to believe that Joe would bring his laptop to the laptop repair place in Delaware, specifically because if you're growing up in Delaware, everyone knows your fucking business and you're a Biden. This is what Archmere Academy.
Hunter? Yeah, that's Hunter was in a crack haze, Pat. There's no way he remembers dropping it off.
So this is Archmere Academy. Take a look. Pretty nice.
Nice.
Real
got
nice.
like a French chateau, countryside kind of look to it.
They have they rake the dirt path, the dirt road. They rake it every morning.
It's like a Japanese Zen garden.
It's very nice. It's very nice. It's not the type of building you expect to see anywhere in Delaware.
Right.
But Archmere, it's like a 500 student school, which is actually pretty big for a private school, but not small.
It's like where all the kings of Delaware send their kids.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So in the 1970s, Archmere was a boarding school, right? But it moved away from being a boarding school and started becoming exclusively a day school in 1975. It also announced its decision, this is huge for the Hunt man, to become co-ed. Yeah. So brought 50 girls, the first class. Pretty nice.
Jesus.
Hunter got.
Those are some brave parents sending the first 50 in. Those are that's like the civil rights movement, sending the first black people into the
Why
southern
would you
high
send
school.
your girl to a sleepaway school?
No, guys, are you stupid? Look, come on. You guys don't know anything about how rich people think and how they respect women. They don't think of their girls as viable humans. So they're excited that their girls are going to go to the rich
to get
day school,
by a rich guy.
To intermingle and get sold.
They don't want to have careers. Kidding?
Come on.
Oh, man.
Come on.
I teach my daughter how to cut a man's nuts off before sending her that thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't need to worry about it because we don't have the cash to send our kids to this school.
Still going to teach her how to cut some balls off.
Right. Anyway, so this was not a boarding school when Hunter went. It was exclusively a day school, but it was obviously very posh, right, high end. And Joe had gone there when it was a boarding school, I guess. Bo went there when it was a day school. He then goes to Georgetown University in 1988. So we've all spent some time at Georgetown. What can we tell you? If you don't know Georgetown University is effectively an Ivy League school. They compete athletically against the Ivy League schools pretty much exclusively. There's no It just would be it's an Ivy League school. That's the best way to put it. Georgetown's extremely prestigious. It's extremely expensive. It's really hard to get into.
But families, there's definitely Georgetown families.
Absolutely. We a good buddy of ours, one of our best friends in the world, went to Georgetown. His dad's a professor at Georgetown, so we got kind of like the foray into the good life, if you will, with Georgetown. If your dad's
if you're a Biden or a Trump, you're in Georgetown.
yeah,
No matter what your
and that's where
scores are.
both kids
Yeah.
went. I mean,
But they're in the Big East, right?
no,
They were probably at the time that they went there.
Oh, for basketball,
For
I'm
basketball.
not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
He was probably there during like the Thompson days, maybe. But
When I'm saying Ivy League, I'm referring to their football program.
academically, Ivy League, yeah.
Yes,
Their basketball
gotcha.
program is like a special. Yeah, they do.
Gotcha.
They are competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it's the type of school where a football game happens on a Saturday and you didn't even know on campus, but it happened.
I didn't know they had a football team.
They do.
exactly.
They play like Dartmouth and people.
And Columbia, mostly Ivy League
Gotcha.
schools. But it's super high, and it's in Georgetown, obviously, which is a sect of DC, which is different than DC. So DC proper is like a city, right? It doesn't have high rises necessarily, but like around the Capitol, it's very compact. It's normal city vibes. And then if you go a little bit west, there's Georgetown where the subway don't run, and that's on purpose.
Nicest part of the city.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and it interweaves with like really, really high end neighborhoods, suburbs that you couldn't imagine.
It's right on the water.
It's right on the water to some amazing shops. Like all the lobby firms are there, all the law firms are there. Georgetown, if you have the dough, man, living in Georgetown's like a different world. And right there in the middle is the Georgetown campus, and that's where Hunter went in 1988. And I guess to help pay for his room and board, Hunter worked odd jobs, parking cars at events, unloading boxes of frozen beef. And he got his BA, Bachelor of Arts, in 92. And he was accepted afterwards to the creative writing program at Syracuse, which is a really actually prestigious program. But I think he was going to get like an MFA law degree, but he opted to attend Georgetown Law instead. So instead of pursuing creative writing, he stayed at Georgetown, and after a year, he transferred to Yale Law School and completed his law degree in 1996. So real quick aside, this is pretty interesting. So if you guys remember, Tucker Carlson went very, very hard on Hunter, and there was a leaked email copy of an exchange between Hunter Biden and Tucker Carlson that suggested that Tucker Carlson once asked Hunter Biden to write a recommendation letter to Georgetown for his son. Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it was from the laptop. So,
So it's real. So that's real. So Tucker did ask.
this is in 2014.
Yeah. The laptop's been, like Pat said, it's been confirmed as definitely legit.
Tucker writes this to Hunter. I can't thank you enough for writing that letter to Georgetown on Buckley's behalf. Of course, his fucking son's name is Buckley.
Buckley.
Yeah. So nice of you. I know it'll help. Hope you're great and we can all get dinner soon. So
Buckley Carlson.
So Vice News broke that, and they couldn't verify whether it was legitimate or not.
It's
They could
real.
They could
No,
only
Vice
attribute to
is
the fact that it
real.
was on the laptop.
It's on the laptop. It's real. Yeah. That's
That's
hilarious.
pretty funny, man. But it goes to show you if that is real, what an absolute piece of human garbage Tucker.
Well, it
Carlson
goes
is.
to show you, I think, that all this right versus left stuff, it's really for the cameras. These people
Right.
all are friends behind the scenes. They don't. They do all this shit talking and getting everybody against each other for the purposes of their political parties. Behind the scenes, they help each other out all the time, no matter who they work for.
I agree with that.
If you
absolutely.
live in DC, that's the way it works.
Well, I agree with that.
Working on Capitol Hill.
That's the first thought I had. But then the other thing is like Hunter was. He just got personally attacked by Tucker. Not like Hunter was running for office, but
Oh, you're saying just because like Tucker did that
You're so
after
mean.
getting the
yeah,
getting the thing
you are
from him?
right, Will. That like there is a bit of like
I bet they're still friends.
I'd like to know. I'd like to know.
They're still friends.
Anyway, so after he graduated from Yale Law, he worked as a Jesuit volunteer at a Portland, Oregon church, and then he returned to Wilmington, and his father appointed him the deputy campaign manager for his Senate reelection bid. So I guess he's thinking like, Hunter's fresh out his law degree. Let's put him in a legit position. He was at the same time working as a lawyer at the Delaware-based banking holdings company, MBNA America. And I guess he worked up to vice president there. And in 1998, he landed a position with the Clinton administration as a policy director specializing in internet economy. And then 3 years later, the Government and Community Relations Department at St. John's University hired Hunter to solicit earmarks for one of the university's student volunteer programs at an underprivileged high school in Philadelphia, whatever that means.
So far, so good.
Right.
Yeah, so far so good, but he's starting to go into, you can see where he's starting to veer off the path. So that job in 98 of getting something with tech with the Clinton administration, guaranteed there was some dollars to be had on that job, right?
It's
because
it's an appointment.
that's the dot-com boom, right? And then going to collect earmarks, right? That has to do
solicit
with
earmarks for one of the university's student volunteer programs. at
lobbying. That's lobbying.
underprivileged high school in
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
So they sent him to DC to beg for money, solicit earmarks, getting
okay.
lobbying for bills from senators and shit. So you see where he kind of goes off the path. He probably got a little taste of money during the dot-com boom where he was like, oh shit, I can make a ton of money off of like being involved politically. And then he goes into lobbying, soliciting earmarks, and then you could just see where he goes and where he ends up in the scandals at the end is all illegal lobbying.
So, but what I'm trying to figure, okay, so here's an interesting thing to keep in mind. So, right out of law school, he goes to volunteer at the Jesuit church in Portland, Oregon, which okay, is one of two things, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of two things. So this is what I want you to keep in mind. It is actually, him honoring his faith as a Catholic, and maybe that's some like a tradition they have in their family, like you go do service before you do work, which cool. Or it also could be he's showing signs of spinning, and they're like, hey, go and do service in the hopes of it being therapy. And we're going to keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as a
Oh,
possibility.
for sure. Dude, he's got to be partying on the side. This is
Little
college.
lost, yeah.
Dude, imagine Hunter in college. Just imagine how much of fun that must have been.
He must have been
to
fun.
go to a Hunter Biden
Yeah,
party.
pre-crack Hunter
Yeah.
is a delight.
Right. Alcohol and cocaine Hunter
Absolutely.
at a
delight.
college party
Yeah.
must have been something else in the 80s.
Sign me up.
It's raw Coke. Yeah, uncooked Coke. You know how like
Right.
yeah. Woody Harrelson
Real
only eats raw foods, like no
Right.
cooked food. It's like that.
Georgetown Coke is the best Coke I ever had in my life.
Oh man, I actually one time,
It'd be good.
dude, when we would go to Georgetown to party, I would get so annoyed by these rich fuckers. It was just fucking annoying. We'd go once a year, twice a year on our college breaks, which would end a little bit early. We'd go home and then we'd drive into Georgetown to hang with our one buddy that was still in school there. And I sold fake cocaine 2 or 3 times to girls there just because I was so pissed off at these girls.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hold on. I'd go in the kitchen, make fake cocaine, and then be like $60. I wasn't a total asshole. I'd crush a Ritalin up in there. So at least it affected him, kind of.
That old Riddle aspirin for him.
Some of them came back. All right. So, okay. In 2006, and this is kind of jumping around a little bit, but in 2006, Biden and his uncle James Biden purchased an international hedge fund at Paradigm Global Advisors, where Hunter was the CEO for the fund for 5 years until 2011. And in 2008, he launched a consultancy company called Seneca Global Advisors that offered help to companies expand into foreign markets.
Okay, and those are both part of the current active investigation. So by 2006, I'm sure everybody knew of Hunter's problems, and that there was lots of dollars flowing from all these projects.
So that's good to know. That's good to know because something happens in 2013 that's important. So so he's getting into that shit real quick. The relationship front. While he was volunteering in Portland, he met Kathleen Boulay, right? And she got pregos after just 3 months of dating. And they married.
Which kid was this? 5 or
They married. No, that was the first kid. This is his first wife. They married July 1993. So I guess,
back in the-
yeah.
Is that Natalie?
That was Kathleen Boole or
No,
Buell?
the daughter.
Oh, Naomi was born December 93.
Naomi.
Finnegan was born September 98. Maisie was born in 2000.
Wow. Okay, 3 with the first wife.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay, and then let's see. After Obama selected Joe as his running mate in 2008, Hunter terminated his lobbying resignations. So essentially, I guess he probably at the behest of his father, like, hey, if I'm going to be vice president, you can't be lobbying.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, he probably should have kept those. We'll get to that later.
He also resigned his unpaid seat on the board of Amtrak. Amtrak's based in Delaware, so Joe's always had a huge influence there.
Yeah, he got rid
there.
of one of his family jobs to take on like 15 others.
Right. Okay. And then real quick on the addiction front, he wrote in his book that he had his first drink at the age of 8 years old, a glass of champagne
Yikes.
at his father's election night party. And he traces his battles with addiction back to the personal tragedies of losing his mother and sister when he was a child. And
That's kind of bullshit though, because like I could blame, like what's the first drink you guys had?
Sip a beer at like age 7.
Same, but a
Sip
drink
a
is
beer
different.
at 5. I got full on like drunk at my cousin's wedding when I was like 8 or 9. So like, look, like,
but Will, you are not an addict.
No, I know, but I'm saying that,
the addict brain is different. The addict brain can get turned on or turned off.
Like, oh, it's because I had a booze too early.
Oh, but that's the deal. Like, I remember my mom pulling me aside when I was 11 and being like, "Hey, I know you're thinking about fucking around with drinking. Don't. There are serious addicts in our family, and the earlier you start this shit, the earlier, the higher chance you have of turning that shit on."
Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, whatever
Anyway.
he attributes for it. I don't want to judge his addiction.
He flops a little bit on the trauma thing. Like he once said it was you don't want to use it as a cop out, but then he goes back to it. I mean, I don't see how he
that
can't.
sounds like a cop out to me. It's like
it's not a cop out because there's actually statistics and facts that will prove that is the thing.
Okay.
All right. So in 2003, he admits himself to the Crossroads Center, Antigua, for a month. This is a rehab. Bo accompanies him to his first AA meeting upon his return, and he's sober for 7 years. So 03 to 010, he's sober. In November 2010, he drank 3 Bloody Marys on a flight home from a business trip to Madrid, and bam, he relapsed. And that's when he started fucking around with prescription medications, got back into the coke, which he was probably dabbling in college with. And when Bo died in 2015, that's when he went full on. Now, but the more important thing, and what I was getting at earlier, guys, is this. In 2013, at 43 years old, he joined the Navy. And I have a first cousin who was an absolute addict. Couldn't save this guy. Horrible, horrible situation. Darkness. He joined the Army at the last possible age possible to join the Army. And pretty much him joining the Army at that age was, I'm not going to say his name, but because this is the only way you can save yourself.
It's kind of an intervention.
And it worked for him. And I assume that's what they were trying to do. Hunter at this point had been the CEO of a company, a lobbyist. He probably made $1 million bucks 5 times over. And he had to get a special letter to allow him in to the Navy.
They were throwing paths at him left and right because they just wanted him on any different path.
Joe was just begging to the gods that it would stick one day with Hunter.
Yeah, but the Navy is a big thing, man. The Navy's a big thing to be like, hey, son, join the military now at 43 after you were the CEO of a company.
Joe's tried everything, dude. He's behind the scenes to get Hunter to like not smoke crack. Joe has tried fucking everything. Yeah, and there's just nothing that keeps Hunter off the crack pipe. It's just it doesn't happen. And so
he's sober for a long time now.
He was assigned. Well, he had 7 years there. He was assigned to a reserve unit at the naval station in Norfolk. And after a few months, he received a note that a urine sample that had been taken his first day on duty detected cocaine in his system. Under Navy rules, a positive drug.
Day on duty.
Well, that's what that is. That's the I'm just gonna do. This is my last hurrah before I go into rehab. That's
I'm an idiot.
I'm gonna get real fucked up. It's like when someone doesn't want to go to rehab, they're like, tomorrow. It means they give me all tonight to do all the drugs.
Exactly.
Yes. Right.
Under
Navy,
Navy,
put 2 and 2 together that the Army would drug test him.
Right. Right. Yeah, Hunter. This isn't rehab. It's the Army.
Right. So you take a drug test like every day, dumbass.
It feels like it.
Yeah. Anyway, under Navy rules, a positive drug test typically triggers a discharge. Hunter claimed he didn't know how the drug got in his system.
Yeah,
suggesting that a cigarette that he'd been given by strangers outside a bar in D.C. could have been laced with cocaine. Yeah. But he was let go because it was a favor to get him in, and they said, we're not putting up with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, and right after there, he took a paid position at the Board of Energy Holdings in Burisma.
Right.
April 2014.
So let's go to the scandal years. So, Pat, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, basically, he had a long slide down. I mean, I'm sure that Hunter was partying his whole life. He's probably always been very fun to be around. But let's get into all the scandals. And when you see all
it switches eventually.
Right.
That's what happens with addicts. Is it switches from being fun to being this sucks, but I can't live without it.
Right.
Because that's what I'm concerned. That's what I'm confused about. I'm trying to figure out the big question I have going into your section.
I think it was like 2000-ish. In between when the things got bad for Hunter. Probably when he was committing crimes while sober. between
right. You need to-
2006 to 2010. And then the crimes probably drove him to party again in 2010, and then the wheels fucking fell off.
So that's the big question I have going into your section is because you judge a man on his character when he's sober, and he was sober before his relapse in 2010.
Almost
right?
certainly.
That's
already illegally lobbying. Yeah. Okay, so as Pat covered on the show last week when he filled us in about Weed Slut 420, of course you guys remember her. That's Hunter's latest girlfriend.
Couldn't find any porn on her.
Yeah. Did you find any, Wes?
Check OnlyFans. Well, even if you did, you wouldn't be able to find it because they have a terrible search function.
I couldn't find anything.
Well, she is pretty hot, but she's Hunter's latest girlfriend who testified to a grand jury in Delaware, like Pat told us about Hunter. And we now know that Hunter is being investigated by the Federal Securities Fraud Unit for a minimum of tax evasion and probably a maximum of a lot of illegal lobbying. That's pretty much certain to have transpired after we go over the laundry list of things that he's being investigated for. So that, Weed Slut 420, her grand jury deposition was part of this investigation. And so here to kick off about illegal lobbying, this is what Jonathan Turley, you guys probably have heard of him. He's a legal scholar at George Washington University Law School. This is what he told The Guardian about influence peddling in DC. He said, quote, "It's how powerful ruling elites make much of their money, and Congress has never seriously tried to crack down on it. The children and spouses of powerful leaders continue to receive windfall payments from companies and foreign interests, but we've never quite seen the likes of Hunter Biden's enterprises. His contracts go
He's just the best at it.
beyond anything we've seen before." Well, Wes, it begs the question once we get into this, who's the best at it? Him or Joe?
Who's the source on that? Will, who is that quote from?
Jonathan Turley. He's a well-respected legal scholar in DC. And so here's the whole list of all the shady dealings that David Weiss, U.S. Attorney for Delaware, is looking into as part of the DOJ investigation on Hunter Biden that's currently going on, where his two latest girlfriends, including London Roberts, of the baby mama of the 3-year-old, doesn't.
She was never a girlfriend. Well, she was never a girlfriend.
Okay, well, the stripper he knocked up and has a 3-year-old kid with that he doesn't acknowledge, she's cooperating with the feds, and so is Weed Slut 420, Zoe Keston. And so probably more girlfriends. I'm sure they're reaching way back.
There's a lot more.
What they're investigating here is insane. This list is crazy. So this is the start of the list. The first thing, Hunter allegedly stayed at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles in 2018, where he was cooking crack cocaine inside the hotel for a year. Or however long he stayed there. Also in 2018, Business Insider reported that Hunter sought an annual $2 million retainer. So he's cooking crack at the Hotel Marmont, calling the U.S. government and seeking a $2 million annual retainer to aid in the recovery of Libyan assets frozen by the Obama administration during Gaddafi's rule. So just some more profiteering that he had the inside info on because his dad was VP at the time. No big deal.
Dude, by the way, when I read this Marmont shit, I got so fucking pissed off because the biggest dick meeting I ever had in Hollywood was when I went out, my laptop broke on the Delta flight.
Right.
That was like the biggest dick meeting after going to LA for 10 years. I had one big dick trip. It was a huge dick trip. It was awesome. It was fucking awesome.
Where you got to meet with some high level.
Got to meet with Brian Grazer,
people.
Ron Howard's people.
Okay.
Signed a deal. Feeling fucking good. I called my agent. Was like, get me tickets to the Magic Castle, someplace I've always wanted to go. It was fucking awesome. And going out there with Ian Henkel, who's my partner. His dad would always tell us, like, oh, in the 70s, we'd go to the Chateau Marmont. You always hear about Chateau Marmont. It's where John Belushi died. So I'm like, Ian, we're all dressed up for the Magic Castle.
Hunter knows about it.
It's time we walk over to the Chateau Marmont and treat ourselves to a cocktail at this fancy Hollywood establishment. We made it 2 feet up the driveway before we got fucking booted from the Chateau Marmont.
But Hunter was literally cooking crack cocaine.
Yeah. They were like, get out of here, fools.
In the hotel at that time, probably.
Yeah, my dick shrunk 2 inches that day.
Yeah, it sucks, Pat. But you should have got let in because they let
I know,
Hunter
that's
Biden
what I'm saying.
crack in there.
Yeah.
So then, in a crack-fueled haze, for sure, Hunter's laptop that he left at the Delaware laptop. I don't know how this Delaware laptop guy got it, whether he stole it from Hunter or whatever. It's his legit laptop.
Yeah, it is his laptop.
It's his laptop. And so like Hunter, that had to be drug induced. You'd have to imagine See, he lost it or got it to this repair guy somehow through a fuck up when he was fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And then during the Obama administration, Hunter was being paid, we know, $50,000 a month by the Ukrainian firm Burisma, which Pat just brought up, which is where he went. And part of that job, he'd take Joe to golf with these guys. And so that starts to come in with the questions of the illegal lobbying. Was he really helping Burisma pump gas, or was he lobbying?
What a weird looking picture that was.
On behalf of the United States, right? On behalf of Joe Biden to this gas company. And so under U.S. statutes, all persons acting politically or quasi-politically on behalf of foreign entities in the U.S. must properly disclose their activities, which Hunter never did for that Burisma job. And as Pat got to, he said he wasn't lobbying anymore after his dad got into the Oval or into the White House. Other potential illegal lobbying jobs that Hunter took, mostly while his dad was the vice president, some before, some after, sitting on the boards of BHR Partners, which is an investment fund backed by the Chinese state banks. He also sat on a hedge fund board, Paradigm, which Pat brought up. They happen to be focused on cryptocurrency, which Joe is currently regulating. And then his consultancy group, Seneca Global Advisors, that's an IT outsourcing firm that, given his connections, could give preferential treatment to certain government contractors. And then he also had the Rosemont Seneca fundraising firm, which was like basically a coordination between the Bidens and the Hineses, it looks like.
So,
and so all these things, Pat, he's raising money. He's trying to get bills done, but there's always some runoff, right? And so there's a new book called Red Handed: How American Elites Get Rich Helping China Win by Peter Schweizer. And it's mostly about Hunter's work in China for the BHR Partners board that he sat on. And in the book, Peter Schweizer claims that the Biden family made $31 million on that one job alone that Hunter did. And the laptop hard drive, funny enough, is what's proven instrumental in proving all that and writing the book.
I'll tell you, when you close a $31 million deal, you know what you treat yourself with?
Chateau Marmont.
Yeah.
A whole fat stack of cocaine.
Yeah, you do. You give yourself a little break.
You go to the Chateau Marmont, you start cooking that crack cocaine.
But that's what I'm getting at. If you follow the timeline, let me ask you this question: does it seem like, okay, so when Joe first is the running mate for Obama, Hunter says, "Okay, I'm not lobbying anymore," and then you see.
But he went into overtime.
Let me finish. But then you see the military thing happen in 2013, which must have been at the behest of his family, being like, "Get in the fucking military, dude."
Right,
That doesn't work. And then right after that, Burisma starts. Do you think that Hunter at that point is just like, "I'm a rogue cat, can't say nothing to me. I'm doing whatever the fuck I want to do"?
I think that also, look, man, he's making. It's hard to, even if that is the case, Pat, and he's saying he wants to do what he wants, it's hard to turn your eye down to it when you're the family and he's bringing in all this.
I agree. It's nasty that these people, the money's there and they'll take it. And that's just it's the human condition. It's fucking nasty.
Yeah.
It's nasty, man.
And they were taking it. So I mean, he's cashing these fucking checks, and I'm sure distributing them to the family.
This is the biggest issue with government, period, of all kinds, is private money in government. It's the largest issue.
Sure, man. And that's straight
Root
from
of
the fucking government of China. $31 million straight to the Biden family. I mean, it's crazy when you get to. So a lot like Tony Fauci, should the Republicans take the House back, considering all this stuff that I just told you is from a current federal investigation, I would expect pretty much nonstop investigations into Fauci and Biden's work in China. Plus Uncle James Biden is also apparently, in some way involved with some of this illegal lobbying. But yeah, I mean, like, if the Republicans get the House back, they're going to be pushing on all this stuff. So, But
are they going to push that hard? Because the Republicans are usually more guilty than the Democrats in terms of taking lobby money.
It's really funny that you bring that up, because the Democrats,
because you don't want to blow up your own spot.
You're right, Pat. But this is actually the Democrats blowing up their own spot, because the Democrats are trying to point out that the Trumps, they're so similar, and that's why Hunter should be considered innocent, because the Trumps, ironically, it's the Trumps who got the DOJ looking more into popping people on these types of charges starting in September 2016 as part of the Mueller report investigation. So what they're researching here is the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA, FARA, which is what Paul Manafort pled guilty to not following at the end of the Mueller report. So this is literally, Pat, one of those situations where you demand somebody to be investigated for doing the exact same thing that you're doing and end up fucking yourself in the end. Basically, the DOJ never prosecuted these cases until Manafort, till the Mueller report. And so now Hunter is likely to be fucked by the Trump investigation.
Dude, I mean, the only way lobbying is going to ever stop is someone making a mistake anyway, because the people that are benefiting are the people that control whether it's investigated. So someone's got to fuck up like this for any change to happen.
Exactly. And if the Republicans take over in November, the House, they're going to put the ostrich jacket on Hunter.
I'm just interested what's going to, because if you what's that website that tells you who's taking what money? Like from what it's dark, like the dark money website.
Oh, I forget. There was a good website. Somebody did like a essay website.
They're awesome. Anyway, if you look at it, it's usually like it's like 60-40 or maybe like 54% Republicans. It's slightly
the richest person in Congress is Mark Warner, the senator, Democratic senator from. They all make money off of this stuff. That's what I think. I don't think it really matters. I think behind the scenes, they all help each other make money when you're an elected official.
Yeah, but it's a gray area, though, isn't it, with all this lobbying? Because you can always point to the fact that, well, this is what I would have done for my business anyway to make money, or this is how I would have voted because I would agree with it.
Wes, it was until they started. And again, this is all goes back to the Mueller investigation. September 2016, the Department of Justice puts out a memo saying, basically, because of the Trump campaign and because of all the people wanting them to investigate the Trump's ties with Russia and whatever else, they're going to start prosecuting on the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA. And that's what got Manafort. That's what's going to get Hunter Biden. That's what's going to get all these people who do illegally, lobby.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. It's crazy. But basically, Hunter, all that needs to happen is the Republicans need to be in charge of the House. And I would assume that there's going to be so much pressure to indict him.
You think they're going to wait till Joe's dead though, before they do all that shit?
No, they would want to do it while he's still in office. I mean, if they take over starting in November, because that's going to hamper him then for the next election. So they would want to go after Hunter and Fauci as hard as they can starting in November. And that it's a must win now for both parties, because, basically the keys to investigating Hunter and Tony are on the table for whoever wins the House, or protecting them from investigation. But after all this, even reading all this and seeing all the shady shit, obviously Hunter Biden's done or whatever, crackhead, banged his brother's wife, all that stuff. He's still, to me, I don't hate him. I just think that he just is an addict born into this first son situation, who just is I don't know. He's doing what he would do.
The leap from him doing what he did to the situation he was born into is not that great. You know what I mean? The gap there to make that leap from his upbringing to his opportunities to what he's doing is pretty easy to make that jump. Anyone that was in that situation might.
Right. There's so much
opportunity,
temptation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think I want to know how things shake out with the lobbying investigation, because it's I would imagine that if you're Joe Biden's kid or the kid of any super powerful person, right, and you have the opportunity to make millions from a foreign entity, you go to the person who's your father and you say, hey, can I take this money if I don't tell them anything? And if the person gives you the blessing, then you do it, I guess. But then if you do tell them something, then you made a big fucking mistake.
The $31 million is definitely against the foreign agents.
I mean, because I will say, the one, and I'm not
do that.
Just playing devil's advocate. The lobby
can't take $31 million from the Chinese government and not report it to the United States.
You got to report it, but
you can't say hey, this work is
you got to report the taxes. But what I'm getting at is what's actually done for lobbying is not always apples to apples.
Yeah,
it's not always firm. It's not always
but
I pay you this, you give me this.
Gray area.
It's great.
If you send Manafort to jail, you got to send Hunter Biden to jail. There's really not much of a wiggle room. Like if you're prosecuting on this, which they never did before Trump, they never used to get people in trouble for this shit before Trump.
Right.
I think you got to play it both ways. And
you have to.
When you look at Hunter's list, man, like he's taken, tens of millions from war-torn
But this is about not
that
reporting.
are
This is
getting-
a tax issue, right?
he's getting this money in order to give preferential treatment from the White House.
Yeah, it's quid pro quo.
Yeah, it's quid pro quo all day long. And it's just, and that's what it is. And it's illegal foreign lobbying. So you're going to play it one way. You're going to play it for the Trumps. You got to play it for Hunter Biden. He needs the Democrats to win in November. It
looks really bad now too, because China, because it is China
and Ukraine.
Ukraine
and Russia and China. Yeah. I mean, he's with all the hot buttons.
Yeah.
He had his fingers in all of the hot cookie jars. So it's just I
would argue it looks equally bad for Trump threatening to withhold the military aid to Ukraine to get.
But it was about investigating Hunter's work in Burisma, though.
But I guess what I mean is learning more about who the Ukraine is. Like we're learning a lot about who Ukraine is.
Well, they're dirty too, just like any other government. They're willing to cut deals, obviously. But the thing is that Hunter, he's so exposed. Him and Fauci, they really need the Democrats to win in November. Otherwise, I would anticipate nonstop investigations into them.
Well, let's look at some of Hunter's art to close the show.
Nice.
I'd love to.
Look at this.
He did that.
He did that. Yeah.
Pretty nice. It's like a bunch of triangles with a lot of spheres, and it's trippy.
Geometric,
yeah, geometric. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
What is that? That's like a leaf.
It's a leaf.
Bio
psychedelic, like
maybe a
Zodiac
brain,
kind of
like a cell. Yeah, like it's like a cell,
except
a constellation leaf.
Ooh, what about that one?
I like that one actually.
Yeah, that's a Biden that I'd hang on my wall.
Interesting.
The first two, not so much. I like that one.
I'm more into the very first one, the geometrical.
Ooh, what about
geometrical one?
Yeah.
Is that the Constitution sideways with hands?
No.
I mean, it kind of looks like it.
No, but I do.
Kind of writing.
I do hate it when people like fuck around on Photoshop and then like call themselves artists.
That was definitely what you did.
Looks.
Yeah, for sure. That's a bunch of mashed up pictures.
It's not art, man. Paint it or it ain't art. That's what I like to say.
That dude that does the graphic art, what's his name? The guy that's really popular, that he does graphic art. His shit's art.
Some of it is, yes.
Yeah.
Hunter is not without talent. That is for sure.
No, for sure. And I think like Hunter probably, like I was saying earlier, it's probably so fun to hang out with, man. But he's just got problems. Like,
he's got problems.
He can't keep his hands out of the cookie jars. That's his problem.
Listening to the 48-minute of conversation with Weed Slut 420 definitely like it showed you a lot of who he is as a person. He's like sitting there being like, everyone's coming at me, and he sounds like a nice guy, and then he's like, let me hit that crack pipe. Like whatever good things are happening,
give Daddy the creative juices.
Whatever good things are happening or goodness he has inside him, he's totally is overshadowed by his addiction, unfortunately.
Right. It sucks. Yeah. It's a sad story, honestly, Hunter Biden.
But you can't be a dummy and get through Georgetown and Yale, a total dummy. You can't be.
He's not a total dummy, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah.
You can't get accepted to Syracuse's creative writing program without being
If he had not fucked his brother's wife, I would have I would have like 10 times more respect for him.
After he was dead, bro.
It's so brutal.
No, it's terrible.
And then he doesn't acknowledge one of his kids. That's another.
Yeah, that's another terrible one. Yeah.
I mean, those two things alone right there is just
he can get away with a lot of other shit.
Yeah, like how unforgivable. Much crack do you have to do to rationalize those two?
It's unforgivable, man.
It's tough. It's tough. and then with his work, like he obviously is addicted to the money too, because he just keeps going back. Like I'm sure he knew it was hot, and then he's just compiled this laundry list of investigations now. Which
it seems like he gets
laptop, and then losing his laptop. I mean, he's fucked. Like
it seems like he gets his arm twisted. Is what it seems like to me. It seems
that's the question, Pat. Who's putting? Is it him or is it the guy above him?
He formed a company with his buds, right? So like you form a company with your buds, and one of your buds is Joe Biden's kid who has an addiction problem, who's bringing in.
But is Joe Biden one of the buds?
No,
he's the big guy.
I'm saying
is Joe Biden the big guy.
I think Joe Biden probably blurs the line of what's ethically
Is he the big
reasonable
guy?
because it's his kid.
Yeah,
But I'm
well,
saying,
he's the big guy.
I
If
think
he's the big guy, I mean, it brings up a whole.
I think Hunter's two buddies,
Horn
the other
is definitely
name
the big guy.
partners in his consulting firm, I think
Yeah.
those two guys probably, kept the
You
puppet
think they
alive.
push him?
Oh, I know they do. Yeah, 100%.
And keep
Absolutely.
him cracked up, probably.
Probably.
I don't think you need to do that to Hunter. Very, I think he does it to himself.
You think
pretty
Hunter's
well.
he'll
Yeah.
take it if you just.
Well,
put it
they
on the
might like
table.
leave a crack. He's like sober for 10 years, and they like, it's like in that movie with the what's his name? They leave the crack on the table, like
Right.
Yeah,
Get,
this will take care of it.
That's the deep dive into Hunter Biden, guys. Anything else to add?
no.
No, that was fun. It was great.
I thought it was a good one. I mean, he's an interesting man, and like it's like we said on the podcast on the Weed Slut 421. I think like honestly, I would love it if he like got his shit together. It's just like he's 52, like and
Yeah.
it's just so unlikely that he will, especially with all this bad shit coming down the pipe for him.
We'll see what he owns up
Like-
to. I mean, I do give him credit for telling his dad to not shy away from his addiction shit in the campaign stuff. I was like, own it. It'll help people.
Yeah.
Let's see what he owns up to. Let's see
Yeah,
what
that's
he owns up
good.
to.
But this other stuff is I mean, that's different. It's
Yeah. I'm sure I'd love him if I sat down with him.
Oh yeah, he would be the best to party with.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, him and Tucker are buddies, like off screen, which is hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
So he's that affable. Where the guy who talks shit about him for a living, like
Buckley,
him,
my son Buckley.
Berkeley.
He went to UVA. Don't worry. And
Buckley did?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Buckley
I
Carlson,
bet he fucking did, man.
Oh,
big
boy,
UVA
that-
guy.
Bet he did.
Damn, that makes sense.
Yeah, he rebelled against his dad, didn't wear a bow tie the whole time. All right, guys, that's going to do it for Hard Factor. Thank you, patrons, for your support. Have a great fucking day.
Hard Factor. Cheat on the news. Patreon.com/Hard Factor.